Sahanam bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We have been studying about gross and subtle pleasures. Subtle pleasures are higher pleasures, and gross pleasures are lower pleasures. The lower pleasures have advantages, just as the higher pleasures have advantages. What are the advantages of the lower pleasures?
They're easy to obtain. They give instant pleasure.
Mass.
Speed,
Paper.
availability, quantity.
Very. There's lots of them. You can get them quickly. Everything about it is easy. It's easy to relate to. You don't have to put in any effort. These are the advantages. What are the advantages of the subtler pleasures?
They give you longer lasting happiness.
Yes, and
better quality.
very. They give better quality as well as quantity of happiness. But they have disadvantages. What are the disadvantages of the grosser pleasures?
It's too much. They cause a lot of chaos in life because there's so many of them.
Okay.
They conflict with each other.
Okay, you can say that, but yes, correct, you're not wrong in saying that, but the greatest disadvantage of lower pleasures is that they're fleeting. They just go away. And what is the greatest disadvantage of subtle pleasures?
They require effort.
Sorry?
They require effort.
They require effort, and before effort, they require
The knowledge.
education, correct. So, gross pleasures, subtle pleasures, they both have their advantages, they both have their disadvantages. So you may say, why should I take the disadvantages of the subtle pleasures, all that effort, all that education? Just take a lot of these grosser pleasures and be happy with life. Simple. So what's the problem with that? The problem is that you will be happy, but your happiness will eventually convert to sorrow. Quite simple, no? Now, we don't want to take on that higher effort, that higher education, because we are so comfortable. And being comfortable is a very strange thing in life. It's a very peculiar thing that humans have, or all animals have. That you're comfortable simply because a thing is known to you. Simply because it is known. There's no other reason for your comfort. You could be miserable, you could be suffering, you could be not living up to your potential, you could have every horrible thing. But it is something known to you. and therefore it is comfortable. People get comfortable in their prisons also. You know, people sometimes don't want to leave the prison. They want to stay there. They're very comfortable. Yes, Mahesh.
Yeah, why do they eventually convert to sorrow of those pleasures? I mean, can you not be a sort of sensualist and enjoy sensual pleasures and as they change in time but why would they convert to sorrow?
Whole first chapter we did that. First, all those things have to be in the right alignment. And then even if they are in the right alignment, they have to continue being in the right alignment. And if they manage to be in the right alignment, then you just get bored with them. Then they give you all the negative things. Like Deepraj was telling us, you ate so much that now you can't get out of bed only. So why means the whole first chapter, Mahesh, we can't do the whole thing again. That was the whole point, right? How they are so fleeting.
Right. Thank you.
Now, the surprising statement we heard last time was that if a person had a subtle pleasure and a gross pleasure, he would always choose
The subtle one.
the subtle one. So everybody at all times will always choose the subtler pleasure because it is better pleasure. This sounds surprising to us because we feel we are choosing the grosser one. Then why are we choosing the grosser one if we are supposed to choose the subtler one?
Because of a lack of education.
Because we still do not have access to the higher pleasure. Once you have access to it, how can you leave it? So anybody who has experienced higher and lower will always take the higher. Those who have not experienced will always take the low. For instance, a child. He can play with his whatever dinky car or have a girlfriend. What will the child choose? Always the dinky car. Why is
He
that?
doesn't have a choice.
Yes, he doesn't have a choice. Why does he not have a choice?
Because he has no access.
There is no access to a higher.
No, but in this case, access word will not be correct, na? We have to say that the child is not interested in that.
Yeah, why is he not interested? He has no access to it. He can't access it.
Access.
He can't get that pleasure. Suppose somebody says, why do you have a girlfriend? He'll say, yeah, how horrible. Just like now we will say, suppose we are told, get up in the morning at 4 o'clock and study. We'll say, yeah, how horrible. Because we have no access to that pleasure. That same situation arises when you're a teenager. You can play with the dinky car or you can go out with your girlfriend. Now, which teenager will choose dinky car? Isn't it? So, every time a person will always choose the higher pleasure rather than choosing the lower pleasure. It's universally true. But if he doesn't have higher pleasure, then whatever he is choosing is the highest he knows. So people who say, no, I want to earn lots of money and that's all there is to life, just earning money. He's like that child who says, oh, I only want to play with my dinky car. I don't want to do anything else. So you immediately understand now. Will you start arguing with the child that there is no pleasure in dinky cars? There are higher pleasures in life. Will you start arguing? Then you're a fool if you argue. So a person feels that only this I want to do, then please do it. It's the right thing for you to do. For a child who wishes to play with dinky cars, it is the right thing for him to do. For a human being who thinks life is all about money, then pursuit of money is the right thing for him to do. Because he's at that level.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
what if we have the choice for a higher pleasure, but it's too much work for us? Like we have access to it, but like it's too much work. So in that case, won't I choose a lower pleasure?
Because you don't have access. There is no way. Suppose there's a teenager and his girlfriend behaved very badly with him and she just dumped him and she ran off with somebody else. Will he go back to a dinky car? There's just no way you'll do that. You'd rather have the sorrows of your level than the joys of a lower level.
Ma'am, let's say in this very example which you told, he has a habit of playing video games at home. Let's say, uh, even people my age play them, so I can say safely vouch for
No,
that. The guy
don't
playing.
give an illustration, Sarthak, until you make your point. If your point is not clear, then you
So
give an illustration.
so the point would be, as for him to make a new relationship, he would have to go out and meet someone. So that's effort, right? So instead of putting in that effort, maybe he's comfortable at home playing video games. That's my point, basically. That it
What's
maybe
the
it's too
point
much
in the
work for him.
context? In the context, you have to learn to focus your thought. The point over here is anyone who has access to a higher pleasure and a lower pleasure will always take the higher pleasure. So now what's your point with reference to that?
Suppose I do. Okay, so you're saying that it's freely available to me. That thing, by access, you mean that the
No,
higher
what's your
pleasure is
question?
freely available.
Sarthak, you're thinking you do on your own. If you have a question, you ask.
Okay, so I'll point it as a question that what if there's a bit of a effort that is required to get that higher pleasure? Won't a person choose a lower pleasure in case of seeing such efforts that he has to put in?
Right. So he has to put in effort, therefore, it is still higher for him. It is not a pleasure that he has access to. So it's just repetition, right? I'm just repeating myself. If you had access to a higher pleasure, you would not choose a lower one. You have a theory that that is a higher pleasure. That's not going to help you. Say, oh, I should live and die for my country. These are all your theories. When it actually comes, you run away from the thing. So these are the theories. You don't, the person who does not do it naturally still doesn't have that access.
Ma'am, I'll tell you why this question came to my mind. I did a meditation retreat for like 11 to 14 days. And during that time, I kept feeling greater and greater bliss in myself. But when that retreat ended and I like came back to my old life and my old job, I remember that particular time when I felt blissful during the retreat, but now I just feel very normal. I can put in a small amount of effort daily and repeat the same actions that I did during the retreat, and I'll have that higher pleasure. But it requires me to form a certain it requires me to form a new habit, and that's a lot of effort. So I'm not putting in the effort, so I'm not getting that higher pleasure which I had access to in the past.
I hope all of you who have studied the chapter on meditation have heard Sarthak carefully. We discussed this in the chapter on meditation, and do you all remember it? Were you all there? Who was there for the chapter on meditation? You were there, remember? And now you can hear it. So Sarthak, by putting in any effort that you put in now, that pleasure will no longer become accessible to you. You will damage yourself if you try to do. That is why you need education on the path. Suddenly get up and start doing stuff. Anyway, that's not our topic now. So basically that pleasure is not accessible. And if you do these artificial means by which you access some pleasure, it will not sustain and it will damage you further. So these are artificial means of doing these things. There are so many people, they do it all the time. By these artificial means, you don't grow up.
Well, if I sustained the effort that I was putting in it, of course, the mind would elevate to a higher.
No, your mind will crack. That will not happen. You feel that that was the reason why it happened. All this theory is wrong. You go and read Sarthak in Vedanta Treatise, the chapter on meditation. Then hopefully
Okay.
it'll all fall into place. You're blaming yourself for things that are not your fault at all. It's not lack of effort, it's a completely different idea. Yeah, go and read the chapter. Otherwise, you'll say, now I'm making up all this stuff. It's written 35 years ago. Read it. Yes, Vidushi.
Janki, would it be right to say that not having access to higher pleasures is basically the absence of higher desire, and therefore the absence of a possibility of deriving happiness by quelling that agitation?
Yes. Absence of the desire in or absence of sufficient quantity of that desire. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Janki.
Okay, so why we don't struggle for the higher is because we are very comfortable where we are. Everybody is comfortable where they are. A person who keeps his room very messy is comfortable in that room. And a person who keeps his home clean is also comfortable in his home. Isn't it? There are people who have a lot of troubles in life and they're crying and they're stressed. But they are very comfortable in that. They're completely okay with it. There are husbands and wives who fight and beat each other up. But they're still comfortable in that. They'll take out chappals and hit each other. Very comfortable. Anything that is known is comfortable. People live completely tamasic lives. Very comfortable. People lead lives without any form of higher ideal. Very comfortable. Everybody is comfortable. And because we are so comfortable, we cannot strive for anything. Because every time you try to make that strive, the comfort level falls. So you retreat. It's like when you go near fire, it starts getting hot. So you retreat. Similarly, when you go towards the higher, it starts getting hot. So you retreat. No, Baba, I don't want all this trouble. That is why they always talk about it as going through the fire. Have you realized that? They always refer to it as going through fire. The word tapas means to heat. Tapas is discipline, is self-regulation. It refers to heat. It should refer to something calming and nice and sweet. No, it refers to heat because the moment you approach it, like, I don't want to go anywhere near it. And that is why we fail, because only knowledge can tell us that this fire has to be crossed. Only knowledge can tell you that. And only knowledge can tell you that this fire has not to be crossed. How will you know which is the time that you have to cross the fire and which is the time you have to retreat from the fire? Only knowledge can tell you that, right? Not experiment. Otherwise, you experiment. Go inside and see what happens. And in life, you may have to do that. Many times you may have to do that. But if you can do it with knowledge, you will save yourself a lot of burns. Sometimes you won't have access to the knowledge. What will you do? Afterwards. But wherever you can, go through knowledge. Won't always be possible. So, what pulls us to the higher is that knowledge. What pulls us to the lower is
Comfort.
comfort. So comfortable. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. You think you should get up and go for a jog, but it's very comfortable in that razai. So nice. So comfort pulls you down, knowledge pulls you up. It's up to you to decide which one you're going to go with. Now, shall we continue? So far, so good. All clear? Right. So let's continue.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You said that we always go for the subtler when presented with the choice, but supposing a person likes pop music and does not like classical music, so if they have a choice, they will go for the pop and not the subtler classical. So I'm not sure I understood what you said.
They don't have the choice. That's what we are saying. Like the child, that was the example of the child. The child has the choice. He can play with a dinky car or he can go out with this supposed girlfriend. Okay, then he'll always choose the dinky car and say, yeah, horrible girlfriend. Because he doesn't have access to it. So a person who doesn't have access, he doesn't have that choice. How is he to choose?
Ma'am, in this case, we can't really say that classical is more subtle. It's just based on interests of of how a person grew up. They could love classical, they could love pop. It would be equally like no, not one is subtler than the other, I guess.
Yeah, of course, one is subtler than the other. Or are you denying that there is no difference in quality? There has, in some things, there is difference in quality, right? And if you have a difference in quality, you'll have to determine what is your yardstick to say that this is subtler or gross. Once you have a yardstick to determine whether it's subtle or gross, you can apply it to music.
Ma'am, it's like comparing a mango tree and a coconut tree. Both are trees, they are giving different fruits. Like both classical music and pop music are different kinds of music. Like how can we compare which is subtler and which is what?
First, you determine what is subtle and gross. First, you have definitions for these, and then apply the definitions to whatever you want, and you'll know whether it's subtler or gross. If you say no, there is no difference, then there is no discussion. If you claim that there is a gradation amongst the various sense objects, then you will have to figure out how do you grade it. Now, I'm not going there at the moment because as it is, these ideas are subtle and we don't want to bring too many different ideas. But if you wish to know, you will have to you'll have to get all those definitions and decide. Mahesh, so does always accessing the higher when available point towards our essential nature being the self? That we choose what is closer to the self. You could say that, but it's just a more poetic way of saying it because in this context, self will be absolute pleasure, absolute joy. So you could say that, I guess. It's a poetical way of saying it. It's a nice way of saying it. It's not a revealing way of saying it. When you talk about it logically and saying you will choose whatever gives you greater pleasure. Okay? Yes, Gunjan.
Janki, I just want to have one clarification. Like, access means that the person has tasted the joy of the higher, right? And not the physical access. For example, let's say this class is live on YouTube, right? And by this, we can say that this is accessible to everyone on this planet. But this will not be called as accessible in the context we were talking about, right?
Correct.
So by excess, we mean that the person has tasted the joy of higher, right?
Yes. He to him, that is a real thing.
Yeah.
It is not like a theoretical thing, oh, Vedanta is such a great thing, but a real thing. So, in other words, you can say, like Vidushi said, that the person has a desire. That was what Nilüfer was also saying. How can you say that you don't have access? Because they don't. They don't have that choice.
Thank you.
Mahesh, greater or subtler joy?
Sorry, you mentioned that we'll always choose greater joy. I thought you meant subtler joy. I mean, is it equating the two, or are you
Yes, of course.
okay? Fine.
All subtler joy is always the greater joy.
Okay.
That's what we discussed now. It's more in quality and quantity.
But
You,
it said that all happiness is common, right? Joy, ecstatic, all the different descriptions of happiness.
correct.
But they differ in quality. I mean, they may be the same, but they differ in quality.
Quality and duration.
Okay. So, I mean, okay. So if I get a joy when I do something unselfish, so qualitatively, what would you call that? Is there joy sort of,
It's a deeper joy,
deeper joy?
Think about it for yourself. I mean, put it on the brass tacks. I mean, see your own life. You ate a pizza which you love very much, or you went and helped somebody, which gave you greater joy, and that satisfaction which you got from both these activities, which lasted longer.
I'm fully agreeable to this thing. I was only wondering about the qualitative aspect.
That's
Since we're
what
calling
I'm
all
saying.
sorts of happiness the same, we're using the same word. Happiness is common with all sorts of. So I was just thinking, is there a word for subtler joy, or is it just the adjective before happiness that tells you?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's fine then. Thank you.
Ma'am, knowledge is required to access the higher pleasure or tapas?
Both. If these are methods, knowledge or tapas or whatever you have, these are all methods. Whichever method gives fruition. I mean, once you've reached the higher level by whatever method it means, you will have access to that joy.
Okay.
You can also reach by bhakti. I mean, you can reach by multiple methods. You can reach through karma. Both your methods were the methods of jnana, but bhakti also, there's karma also. Sometimes you just beaten into sense by by experience. Whatever way you reach there, you reach there.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, shall we continue? So, when you grow in subtlety, any growth in subtlety is accompanied by commensurate growth in happiness. As this is not comprehended, people restrict their evolution to higher dimensions. So, a very physical person wants to stay physical. But if something happens by which he experiences some emotional joy, such as he or she gets a child or something, he experiences some kind of emotional joy, then he will very happily give up his physical pleasures for that emotional joy. So any parent will very happily give up the joy of any food or anything for the child. So, but before he's actually experienced that joy, he won't want it. This is the problem with life. You don't want it. And if you don't want it, then why would you study hard or work hard to get it? As this is not comprehended, people restrict their evolution to higher dimensions. They succumb to the fear of the unknown. Knowledge circumvents that. An understanding of life is crucial for human development. Once you understand the whole picture, that's this greatest gift of Vedanta. It sort of explains the whole picture. And once the whole picture is clear, it all just begins to make sense. So you understand how these various parts are fitting together with one another. Dr. Santosh Sahi, Delhi. Dr. Sahi, are you new to class? I can't remember this name from earlier.
Very, very new.
Oh, okay. First day?
No, this is the second day.
Okay.
I joined late last week, but
Okay,
so I was just wondering the difference between happiness and joy.
It is the same thing as far as Vedanta is concerned.
Okay.
We all sorts of happiness, any kind of happiness, joy, pleasure, satisfaction, calmness.
So we just use one or the other, the meaning is the same. Okay, thank you.
The meaning is the same. We don't just use one or the other. Our experience is also different. Like like suppose you sit in meditation, for instance, then you feel calm. If you go to a party, then you feel celebratory. So even the experience of it is different.
Actually, what I thought, joy is like ananda, the bliss, and happiness is temporarily, not lasting long. This is what I thought about it. That's why I asked you. Happiness is a temporarily, but joy is ananda, again experience, feeling, if we take it like that.
Yeah. I mean, people use these words very differently, but in Vedanta, it's all the same. Whether you're getting joy from the self or you're getting joy from eating a pizza, same thing it is. Because the very mechanism is the same. And since the mechanism is the same, though you feel it differently, though it exists for different periods of time, the mechanism, the underlying mechanism is exactly the same. And therefore, it is equated.
Yeah, medically, we can see the same chemical changes, endorphin, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, they are all generated. So we get the same chemistry from the body anyway. Thank you.
So in the first chapter, we discussed this. So, I mean, if you get a chance, have a look.
Yeah.
All happiness is nothing but the removal of desire. If you have a desire and that desire for some reason is removed, either because you got that object or because you grew out of that object, whichever way you did it, the absence of the desire is happiness or joy or contentment or anything. In deep sleep, you feel a lot of peace. Why? Because the desire has been suppressed at that point. Yeah. Anytime it becomes, in meditation, people start doing meditation for peace. Desires are all getting suppressed.
Right.
Temporarily, you experience some kind of peace.
Thank you.
Mahesh, but the adjective used before happiness differentiates types of happiness, subtle happiness, gross happiness, etc. These are not so much types of happiness. The underlying mechanism is the same. The definition of any happiness is exactly the same thing. Now, our experience of these things differ. You remember we studied why do we experience happiness differently? If all happiness is nothing but cessation of agitations, then why do we experience it differently? Do you remember?
Contrast.
Because of contrast. A contrast with the previous situation. You may remember the example we discussed that here is my hand. It's a free hand. Then suppose some very strong person in this class, let's say Bharat, shakes my hand, or he shakes it so badly that it starts hurting me, and I'm like, oh my God, stop. Then he leaves my hand. Some people shake your hand and so not Bharat, of course, he's a gentle giant, but some people, they shake your hand in such a way that you're, Baapre, are you trying to break my hand or what? So now the Scott like that. And then that person leaves your hand. Your hand now is in exactly the same condition as it was before that guy shook your hand. But the experience of your hand is different. Why is it different? Only because of the contrast to the previous condition. So we experience happiness very differently because what are we contrasting it to? If you're contrasting it to a gross kind of desire, there's a certain kind of happiness. When you're contrasting it to a subtle kind of desire, a different type of happiness. So it's not really that the happiness is any different. The contrast makes for the difference, makes for the experience of difference. So it's not differentiating between different types of happiness. It's holding its stance that all happiness is nothing but cessation of difference. So then you say, how do I experience it differently? That's because of contrast. Okay, Mahesh? But there's a qualitative difference. There is a qualitative difference because of the contrast. Every difference you are experiencing is because of contrast. That's why I said when it's a gross desire, then you will experience its fulfillment or the absence of that desire in a particular way. If it's a subtle desire, you will experience it in a different way. So there is a qualitative. That's the whole point of saying there's a difference of experience, no? You will experience it, all of us, not you. I also, everybody will experience it differently. And therefore, it's very counterintuitive to think that all happiness is the same, because clearly not. How? We did that, remember? Let's say a robber has just done a first successful heist, and a lady has given birth to her first child. There's a difference in the happiness they're experiencing, but it's the same. You remember we studied this, no? I don't know. If we start all over again, everybody's going backwards today. I think.
So you mentioned qualitative difference. That's why I was trying to fit that. Because,
experiential difference. I don't need to mention. You know that there's an experiential difference. And that's your first argument against saying that all happiness is the same. How can you say it's the same? I experience it differently.
so the experience is different because of what? Quality or the nature or what? I mean, what is the... I mean, I know subtle pleasures have different, different experience.
Now, Deepraj, please tell Mahesh.
It's because the contrast. So depending on how strong the desire was, when the desire is ceased, you will experience that different because it's a different level of call. So you'll call it different names depending on the contrast.
That's what the whole example about the hand was, no, Mahesh?
No, but I mean, is it... Yeah, I mean, sorry, maybe I'll take it offline. I don't want to spend too much time on questions.
Don't take it offline. You finish it here only at that.
Yeah, I just want to, because I mean, I don't think gross joys I can understand as the hand being, sort of being.
That is not the joy. The point of that example is before the handshake and after the handshake, your hand is in exactly the same condition, but you experience it differently. That is the point of that example.
Yeah, but that can explain that type of happiness, but subtler happiness is the same
Not
thing.
that type of happiness.
Okay.
Point of that example is in exactly the same position. You have a free hand. In exactly the same position, you will experience that hand differently.
So,
that's the point of it.
So the quality depends on how badly the hand was shaken. So if it's just a minor thing, it's not a big problem.
No, it's to do with the contrast.
Yeah, contrast. So when the hand was shaken very strongly, then naturally the contrast will be higher. And
Okay.
if the hand was just, shaken slightly, then the happiness will be, it's in the same position, but it may not be so happiness because you wanted so much of a pain earlier. So I
Yeah.
was just trying to bring
So
it
move that to desire. So depending on the quality and quantity of your desire, your experience of happiness will be different.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I just thought subtler happiness had a different root, but if it all boils down to the same sort of idea, then that's fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Ramchandran. It's only a perception of the individual. A same experience or same profession doesn't give same feeling to different people. Yes, you could say that it's a matter of your desire. If you have a desire, that means your mind has gotten agitated. Then, when that thing is fulfilled, those agitations will drop and you will experience happiness. But if you don't have a desire, then you cannot experience happiness from that object. How will you? So you can say it's only a perception. It's not only a perception as if that person is making it up. It's not only a perception. That is what he will experience because of the presence or absence of desire.
Ma'am,
Hmm?
you have defined that happiness is the absence of desires, or like with contrast to the previous state. So, when we get some subtle joy, so our agitations are coming down, is what we are saying, rather than we are getting something, we are losing our agitations when we are
Yes.
getting a subtler pleasure.
We are losing a subtler kind of agitation. That is why you're getting a subtler kind of pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So now let's continue. The pyramid of life. It is a law that the quality and quantity are inversely proportional. Okay, so what have we established so far? We've established so far that um, subtler joys are better in quality and quantity. Okay, that's where we are. Now we are coming to the pyramid of life. So big deal. Why am I inculcating subtle pleasures? It is a law that the quality and quantity are inversely proportional. Remember where we started from, that it is total happiness is the total absence of pleasure. Sorry, total happiness of desire. Right? Total happiness comes from absence of desire. No desire, full pleasure. Life is very simple in Vedanta. Right? How do you get complete happiness? How will you have absolute happiness? Zero desire, absolute happiness. To the extent you have a desire, to that extent, you are going to be agitated. Then we brought in this concept of subtle and gross pleasure. So, what has that got to do with anything? Right? So it has something to do, and that is what the pyramid of life explains. Otherwise, now you have to follow the line, otherwise, it become very, very confusing. Wait, did somebody raise a hand? Taruna, had you raised your hand? Where did you
Yes,
go?
Shantidee. It
Oh, okay.
was about the previous point which you're making, that if we say that the joy of a lady giving a birth and the first robbery are same, my question is
The first?
the first robbery done by a person.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and the Sathak said it is about losing the high, mean in the subtler joys, it is not achieving something, it is just lowering the agitation that gives you happiness. So in the case of birth, what is that lady doing? She achieved, she has got a baby, so she got the desire fulfilled. So what is she losing in that case?
Her reputations. She had a desire, and desire will agitate her. Then she has a child, then she's lost her agitation of that particular thing. Now she'll have of other things, that particular. But now this is a very deep agitation because she's been thinking, I want, so deep one, right? So now when she gets a child, she's like, oh my God, this is the most wonderful thing.
Okay. So even in that case, when she achieved what she wanted, so that is the cause of her losing
I mean, the
losing
desire now is not
agitation.
there. Yeah. Desire is
Hmm.
not there now because object is there.
Okay. I was thinking of what is in comparison she is lost. Means the grosser thing.
Agitations of desire, and now she got a child, agitations dropped.
Okay.
So
Got
now
it.
suppose a person has a very, very deep desire which is not able to get rid of, then those agitations will never drop. But suppose she didn't have so strong, and then she sees her nephews and nieces, then she's very happy because in her the agitations are dropping.
Okay.
So different permutations and combinations do different. You know, you go to, I don't know, she goes to an orphanage and then she feels one with the children. She feels so satisfied. And
If the desire is not so strong.
yeah, I mean,
Means
not so strong, or my child is not such a critical
big
thing.
thing. Okay.
So
Okay.
nephews, nieces, orphanages. Now, very important that she must learn that. So you have to deal with those desires properly. Otherwise, outside people will trigger those and then make use of your emotion. So you have to know that all this thing, and this whole thing is called samsara. Because that's how we get triggered, right? Because we have a desire. If we don't deal with our desires, then somebody from outside will go and trigger.
Okay.
Means knowingly or unknowingly, both ways.
So though it appears that robbery and this thing, having a child, they appear to be different kind of happiness, but since the formula is same, that is why we say the happiness is same. Though it's the subtle or gross or high or whatever. So we go by formula.
Yeah, we go means in that sense it's the same.
Means in
Not
that
in
sense.
the sense
So
of
we cannot say so. But I was confused when you said even the realization of the self, that is also comes into the same umbrella. It is again that last subtle desire has to be resolved, unless because that can also cause agitation.
yeah. Except we don't talk of realization because realization is beyond the intellect. So technically, we never say anything about it. But so we can take up to the last desire.
Last desire.
Imagine that person is so peaceful and so thing. But when he realizes the self, he will realize that even that was agitation. That's why the sages say even thought is agitation. Just a thought, any thought.
But it is very hard to digest. Means technically we understand this is the formula, but when you're agitated, we never see it that way. That it is my desire causing me the agitation.
Of course, when you're agitated, intellect is not working. How will you see anything?
Okay, morning struggles.
No. Yeah, yes, that is correct. That's a general answer. But the thing is, you avoid agitation from your desire by learning how to deal with your desires before other people and other things deal with your desire. If you have already dealt with it, then external. Suppose a person is very hungry and doesn't get food, you can't tell that person you be happy. Like, how can he be? He wants food and you're not giving it. So similarly, if your mind wants something and it doesn't have it, you can't tell the mind now you be happy. Okay, how will he be happy? Doesn't have it. So an intelligent person programs their life in such a way that they have taken care of that. So, it's 1 o'clock and I'm so hungry and I'm getting very agitated. But why is your food not yet prepared by 1 o'clock? If you had organized for your meal to be ready by 1 o'clock, then all this agitation you're safe for. So if you know your own desires and you program your life in such a way, there is no real need to be so worked up and agitated.
Ma'am, but real life is not very easy as like programming a computer program, let's say. So it's not, that's why we call it samsara, I guess.
No, that is the reason. Because real life is not easy, that is the reason why you plan and program. So that when the difficult parts come, you are available to handle them. If you don't plan and program and everything is a mess, then when the difficult parts come, you will collapse.
Ma'am, let's say I have an unfulfilled desire, like you were saying. How will other people and situations like make it worse? The point you were saying, I'm just questioning that basically. You were saying that other people and situation will come, something like that. You were saying.
So that's an example, right? I know I'm going to be hungry at 1 o'clock. I haven't organized anything for myself. And so what is the situation now? I'm hungry, but there's no food. So I can do that with wealth. I know I require X amount of wealth. I made no organization to have that X amount of wealth. Now that need has come that I have to spend the money, I'm agitated. I know I need a spouse. I made no plan and program to have a harmonious relationship with my spouse. Now, when I'm longing and I'm feeling lonely, the spouse is not available to me. In everything, the same formula works. If you learn Vedanta, life is just so simple because it's just standard formulas working. And then say, "Oh, God is so bad. I didn't get what I want." Very good. Why should God give you what you want? Why don't you go and get whatever you want? So you're programmed, and you know your desires. You know what you're doing. You figured out what is required, and you are going about it in a sensible manner. Now, after you do all this, something will come left of feet. That is what you're saying. Things will happen. Of course, they will happen, and that's the reason why you keep yourself organized. Otherwise,
Ma'am,
also disorganized, world is also disorganized.
suppose you had a desire for building a Vedanta university. Now, but other people are also involved in, fulfilling that desire, right? We need the help of so many other people. So, I mean, handling that desire, won't it be like a bit complex, or like, because other factors are also involved? It's not just you who has to put in the work. It has to be a cooperative effort, right?
So, Sarthak, please start putting in effort. You know the formula, right? We all have to put in effort. So please start putting in the effort. You know everything. But yeah, you gotta, I mean, when you start a project, you have to know what you're getting into and what it's going to take, and how many things you know nothing about. You have to know this stuff. Well, that's why you take on projects, so that you handle bigger challenges. If you create your own challenges, then the world will not create challenges for you. Create your own. Otherwise, let the world give you some.
Correct.
Yes, Bharat.
So, if a non-possessive person were to take care of a child as a form of service, so it's the service part which will provide happiness here, right? Not necessarily the child.
I don't know why you're bringing possessive or non-possessive. I mean,
Because
like, what's
we
the point?
spoke about the mother who gave birth to a child, and the
Yeah.
agitation is gone, and that's what provides the happiness.
Yeah. Could be a purely selfish thing. Why? What is it to do with being a service or anything? A person had a desire to eat a pizza. He ate a pizza. He's happy. Person had a child, to desire to have a child. He had a child. He's happy. A person had a desire to paint their house. He painted his house. He's happy. It's not complicated. It's you had a desire You obtain the object and immediately you're happy.
No, I'm saying in case the desire is not there, I mean, to take care of the child is not there, but for some reason the person has to take care of the child. It's the service part in that case which will provide happiness, not necessarily.
Always desire. There has to be a desire. What is the desire? Is it the desire for service? Is it what is the desire? Whatever desire it is, that is the thing that will provide happiness.
Yeah, so we are clubbing the service part also as desire, correct? Okay, fine.
If he desires that, otherwise he'll be miserable. That's किसी का बच्चा मुझे क्यों देखना पड़ेगा. But if he desires to serve, then that will give him a commensurate pleasure.
Yes, true. Thank you.
Okay, Mahesh, let us continue. So please see the connection between zero desires and subtle and gross. What is the connection? It is the law that quality and quantity are inversely proportional. The higher the quality of desires, the lesser their quantity. This is the pyramid of life. The grosser is more in number than the subtle. It seems universally true that as quality improves, quantity decreases. For example, diamonds are few, coal abundant. CEOs few, unskilled labor extensive. Many in primary education, few in higher education. Herd mentality is common, original thinking is uncommon. Lions few, wildebeest millions. In the pyramid of life, the top is small compared to the base. Life tends to be bottom heavy. Access to the higher is like a funnel. So life tends to be bottom heavy. Whatever is at the bottom, there'll be a lot of. Like in a class, for instance. What will there be more of? Dedicated, hardworking, brilliant students, or non-dedicated, non-hardworking, non-brilliant students? What will there be more of? So the quantity and the quality are always inversely proportional. Right? So you see the subtlety of desires decreases the quantity. So therefore, access to the higher is like a funnel. As desires reduce, one moves up the pyramid. A person experiences a new kind of bliss. So as you move up in the pyramid, the kind of happiness you experience is completely different. Take the case of a criminal. No doubt he experiences happiness. But compare the happiness he experiences with that of a Mother Teresa or a Mahatma Gandhi. The thrill of revenge, of violence, no doubt exists. It is experienced by a certain sort of mind. But this is entirely different from the happiness of the pure. In Wordsworth's words, calm pleasures there abide, majestic pain. He is describing heaven. He talks of an ampler ether, a diviner air, as the divine pleasures of heaven. Noble souls command a greater peace. So you see this, that when a person is very gross, even when he claims to be happy, that happiness itself is a very odd type of happiness. He will say he's happy, but you think, Mujhe bachao is happiness. I'm not interested in this type of happiness. But for him, it's happy. He'll say it's happy. And a noble person, like you see now, even people always say this, that oh, this person is so great. You always see the person very happy or cheerful or calm. Like you'd say about Mother Teresa, that oh, you see, she's got a very calm face, or anybody, you talk like that. So she's also calm and the criminal is also happy. Now, what is the difference between these two? There's a qualitative experience difference. Please note, we are now talking about the experience of happiness, okay? There is a qualitative difference. Now, where is this qualitative difference coming from? A very interesting thing. But anyway, we will study about it next time. Remember that as the quality improves, the quantity decreases. So it's subtler, so it's fewer, and if your desires are fewer, therefore you'll definitely be
Happier.
happier. Isn't it? It's quite simple. Okay, so that's it for today. We will continue next time.
Hari Om Janki.
Hari Om Janki.
Hari
Thank
Ji.
you.
Hari Om Janki ji. Thank you.
Ji. Hari Om.
Thank you very much.